Hi everyone, and welcome to A Parent's Manual to Managing Mental Illness. This weekend I was going to work on a video about preparing for back to school, not just for your children, but for yourselves. But I ended up coming across this article in the news, something that happened in Calgary, Alberta, which is right next door to us. I'm here in BC. So it's very close to my heart because what happened with this family is they needed to call 911 on their 12-year-old son who struggles with mental illness, and there was problems with the medication and there was a crisis. So the mom called 911 and did everything right. She had called, let them know that he had mental illness, there's medication issue, and that they needed help. So what ended up happening, according to the article, is that the police officer had to extract him out of the bedroom. But by the time he was at the police car, and again, we're talking about a smaller 12-year-old child, not a big guy that looks like a 17-year-old, but a little guy. And his hands are behind his back. And, the kid was yelling. He's angry, but not fighting, swinging, or anything like that. And the police officer just slammed him to the ground with no breaking a fall, hands behind the back, and just took him down in 2 seconds flat and knocked this child out cold right in front of the parents. And the reaction that the police officer gave the parents was he fell. It was right in front of them. It was like he was so reactive to the child saying, "You're not going to handcuff me," and he just flattened him. He has a skull fracture, and he has damage to his hearing, and he's still recovering in hospital for this. And I had prepared a topic for my video in the future, calling it calling 911, because so many people on Facebook support groups and things like that, when they talk about this, they're afraid. They don't know if they should be calling the police or not because they're worried what that's going to do to their child, especially because when your child is in a rage, in a meltdown, they're not your child in that moment. They are completely taken over. So it is a fear that something will happen, or they'll be arrested or put in jail if they ended up doing something or being aggressive or taking a swing. So I see this all the time on support groups that, what do I do? What do I do? And even in the moment, people will be on Facebook, please help me, I don't know what to do. This is happening like right now. And they are so scared, they don't know what to do. So they're desperate for even people like us who are on these support sites to help them. So part of my reason for wanting to do a topic on calling 911 is because there's just so many people that don't know what to do. Now, my own experience with needing to call 911 has been more positive, but I gotta tell you, there was one time I called and I did all the right things, telling them that my son was struggling with mental illness, that there was a medication issue, and that we're in crisis right now. And she told me that she's not sending a police officer to come out and parent my child. And I tell you, that has got to be the biggest slap in the face, because when you call 911, that's because there is nothing else you can do and you just don't know what to do and you need help. So I sat on that for a day or two, and I ended up calling the supervisor to that dispatch And she was not happy. She was actually really upset that this happened to me and my family at one of the most desperate times in our lives. So I was really happy to hear that at least they were trying to make that reciprocated better when people like me were calling in. So the last time that the police officers were at my house and they had to take my son out of his room, I think at that point he just knew that he had to calm down. But there was a fear in me that sometimes, like I said, they're not even there. So there's no reasoning, there's no talking, and actually coming after them can be like adding fuel to the fire. So I really felt that the last time because, well, of his age for one, and for two, with the whole hormone and everything, I really didn't know how my son was going to react at that time. Um, so I just want to say to everybody out there that has experienced similar situations about calling 911 and, tell me what your experience was like. Did you have any experience like this family in Calgary? Post a comment, and if you want to um, send some love to that family, let them know that there's a community like us that are thinking of them and sending them like love and strength through this. And one thing that I couldn't sleep last night because this little guy, he's only 12, and there's going to be times where the parents are going to be feeling so desperate, but now they will never call 911. Part of the reason that they did that is they said they thought their son was a harm to himself. So those parents and that child are never going to trust again. Who are they going to trust? Because if they can't even have emergency services coming to help them when nothing else is working, what are they going to do? So this is something that I mentioned about the stigma video. People keep talking about this, and you see links all the time about, oh, let's talk about mental health and, recognizing mental health in the workplace. Like there's like really good things out there to do that, but yet the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again. When you have this police officer coming at a house with a 12-year-old child that still looks 10, what is in your mind to think that you had to slam this kid and knock him out cold? Yeah, I know that's not your intention, but look at the way that this is happening for mental health. This is crazy, absolutely crazy. And you know that they're going to be protected. Those police officers, oh, well, he thought this and, we have to react it. No, we keep talking about this all the time. How many stories do you hear of somebody that has a mental illness and the emergency personnel has been notified that, but yet they still end up getting assaulted, attacked, injured? So I really want everybody to know that we need to keep going in the direction of speaking up against this, because little by little by little, somebody's got to make a change. And like I said, all of the people that work in the mental health field are desperate for change. They really are, but their hands are tied, and it's only the powers that be that can actually make the difference. But that's what's lagging. That is what is taking so long. So what I want to say about this is I don't want people to not call 911 if in your gut you need help for your child. Because what's happened for me is it's built a bit of a file for my son. So every time that something happens, people are recognizing that This is not a one-time thing. This is a accumulation. There's a reason for that, and it's actually got my son some of the small amount of help that he had needed. Definitely not enough though. But on top of that, it also can be a benefit to helping your child realize that you are doing everything that you can for them. Now, my son had hated me for doing that, taking him to the hospital or getting him taken there by ambulance or by police car. But I always say to him, I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe, to make sure that you are, healthy, and that everything that you need, I'm going to do whether you like it or not, because I love you. And I want you to feel that you're being taken care of and not ignored. So I say to him, it's okay that you hate me for that right now, or you resent me for that. But in the long run, it was because you needed that. So being able to talk through that with your child instead of arguing through that with your child will help them. And, he still doesn't like what's happened, but he understands. But I do have to tell you, my experiences with that have not always been great, because you go through the trauma of having to bring your child to the ER for psychiatric help. Now, the downside of that is that you're waiting hours and hours and hours, and people are kind of like popping in and out, and your child is ramping up because now we're confined and we're waiting, and this is the last thing that they want to be doing. So it can actually backfire and cause a lot more problems. So for my experience, because I do have the psychiatric support around my son with his medication, so I have a different entity to go to. So my last time that I ended up calling 911, my husband and I decided that we're just not going to do that anymore. Of course, unless something very dangerous was happening. But I feel now that I can work through those crises and those meltdowns with, I don't want to say like a different perspective, but I guess I've kind of experienced it, and I know what to do, and I know how to handle it. And I also know that it doesn't do anything. They just kind of like send you home. So because he was already set up, so it's completely different. And that's why I don't want you to be afraid to call 911, because it depends on where you are. Is this the beginning stage for you? Have you ever been through a meltdown crisis situation before? Are you on the right med? So there's a lot of different, things that individuals have to think about in order of calling 911. What happened to this family in Calgary is hopefully something that a lot of people are not experiencing all the time. I know I haven't experienced that, thank God, but for you parents that are conflicted about that, there's a lot of different things to think about. So if you want to leave a comment or a concern about anything about calling 911 or crisis, comment below, and please don't forget to send that family all the love and support and healing for their son and their family. So I will work on my next video about preparing back to school, and hope to see you.